Hello everybody, this is Chromical018, and this is going to be my thoughts and recap for Toradora episode 24. The last episode is next episode, guys. Be ready, and this episode's one hell of a doozy, in my opinion. Yeah, essentially, while they're chasing after, Taiga ends up running off, and Minori and Ryuji go after her. Sadly, they weren't able to catch her, but while they're running after her, Minori yells out to Taiga that essentially she does love Ryuji, but she decided to step back and let Taiga have her because she knows that Taiga needs him, and Ryuji needs her. And essentially, she ends up tripping and causing herself a nosebleed because we see that once they realize that Taiga's already left. And while Minori is sitting in the infirmary with the nosebleed, she informs Ryuji that she essentially wanted to go to a pro sports school to pursue her career in baseball. And essentially, well, yeah. Hang on, let me go back and look at the synopsis real quick, because I'm not really good at talking about this stuff. Essentially, Minori is doing all this because she wants to pursue her career and, well, keep going at it no matter what, no matter how much, if she causes herself any pain or not cry or anything. And essentially, she gets Ryuji to admit that he does love Taiga, or like Taiga, because he doesn't say he loves her till later. Essentially, Minori says, go after her, essentially, and Ryuji runs after her while Minori is cheering for him. Hang on, I'm fixing this stupid shirt. Why do these shirts have strings on them? I wish they didn't, because it's really annoying. Anyway, he ends up figuring out that she's going to the bakery because they still have their job to do there. And he's actually right, because he's already there when she shows up. And Taiga essentially tells him, I don't want to talk about all this right now. Let's talk about it after we get done with work. And Ryuji's just fine with that. They start trying to talk about it on their way back, but they're interrupted when his mother pops up, and Taiga's mother pops up, wanting to bring her back home with her, and essentially have custody of her. Taiga obviously doesn't want this, but while all this is going on, his mother ends up telling him that essentially he lied about not getting a job and going behind her back and blah 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 blah. And I was like, and essentially Ryuji said about the same thing that I've said when it comes to this whole thing from the last episode, that if he's at that age and he wants to get a job to help support the family, he should be allowed to. And essentially he says that his mother has been forcing all her problems on him because essentially she wants him to study hard and have a better future, but she's the one who didn't end up studying hard and didn't have a better future because of, her getting pregnant with Ryuji and deciding to become a single mother despite all this. And because he ended up yelling at her about all this, he made her cry, which I was quite shocked at the time, but now that I've had time to think over all this, yes, it's still not good to yell at your mother like that, but considering, she helped raise you and everything, but he does have a point in the fact that it's his life, he should get to decide what he wants to do with it. If he wants to get a job and not go to college, for example, he should be allowed to do that, because if he's not happy in his life, that's on you, if you make him do what you want to do instead of what he wants to do in life. At this point, Taiga grabs his hand and they run off. While they're waiting, standing on a bridge, just talking, he finds out that her father's business, went through or fell through, or whatever the term would be, and essentially it failed, and he ran away from it. And her mother is trying to get custody of her because she's got in her head to want to raise her, but she's already got her own, her own husband, her own family, and she's apparently pregnant. And Taiga thinks that because the father is going to be tall, the baby's going to be tall, and she's going to be the shrimp in the family. That's not necessarily true. My father was, I'm assuming, taller than my mother, but I ended up being the same height as my mom. Or a little bit shorter, actually. So it doesn't matter that you have tall parents. You could still end up being short. It's just like people who have, you know, the form of dwarfism. They could be a dwarf. They could have really tall parents, for example, but they still be short. It's essentially down to the genes and a little bit of luck on your side when it comes to your height. Because you could grow up to be average height, or you could grow up to be short or very tall. It just depends. Anyway, essentially, she is talking about all that, and Reed talks about how his mother would have probably had a better life had he not been born. She could have gone to high school, she could have gone to college, got a better job, you know, I would have had a better life, essentially, if he had not been born. And as he's saying this, he's looking over the bridge, and Taiga starts thinking the worst, and tries to keep him from jumping off the bridge, which he's not going to do. And essentially tells him, you know, don't go start talking about that, because that's essentially, you know, bad, obviously. That you should want to live your life and be happy for it, even if the circumstances aren't as good. And when she's ended up doing all this, she ends up pushing him off the bridge by accident. Thankfully, he's okay. And they end up going a bit back and forth with each other, yelling, and he essentially tells her that they should, once he turns 18, they should run away and get married. I'm like, really? What the heck are they thinking? Because, yes, they love each other, but they should start out with dating for like at least a year, I'm guessing, and then talk about that sort of thing. Good lord! They're talking about running away and eloping. And before he can even say he loves her, she jumps off the bridge and right on top of him. But before they can even say anything, you know, anything sort of romantic towards each other, they get interrupted because Kitamura calls them and gives them an address to go to because, you know, everybody's worried about them. Which ends up being Ami's house because both their parents don't know where she lives, so they don't have to worry about them showing up. Because they fell off the bridge into the water, they were soaked, so they had to get a shower. While Taiga's taking a shower, Ami gets Ryuji to essentially admit that he loves Taiga, and she ends up kicking him for some reason. I don't know why she did that. How was work? I imagine so. Sorry, my sister just got home from work. And I am assuming she's going to go take a nap, which I do not blame her. She works at Sonic and B-Dub, Buffalo Wild Wings. We call it B-Dubs. So, yeah, she's probably tired. Anyway, yeah, they end up telling their friends their plans, which their reaction was similar to mine, to be honest. After, questioning them and asking them, how are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? Because, obviously, you had to have some kind of plan and think rationally about that sort of thing if you're wanting to go and elope and get married. After a bit, Minori ends up giving them all the money that she's earned working out her jobs, so they have money for food and stuff. Ami gives them the key to their, I assume it was the vacation house they went to before. And Kitamura gives them coupons, for food. When they leave, Minori ends up collapsing and crying because she had promised herself that she wouldn't cry. She didn't know why she was crying. But essentially, she's happy for them. Despite the fact that she was initially against the idea of them, running away and eloping. When they go back to get their stuff, Ryuji finds out that his mother ran away because of all this and left him her father's watch with an address and to tell them essentially to show them the watch. That way they know who they are. And Ryuji tells Taiga that essentially they're going there instead of running away to Ami's parents' villa. So essentially they're not running away because then they wouldn't technically be. Even if he turns 18 and technically is an adult, he wouldn't be an adult because he'd be essentially acting like a child like she is. So that's why he's doing that instead. And they get there and... yeah, Ryuji introduces Taiga as his bride, which I still find kind of freaky, considering they just declare to each other that they love each other. Well, then again, they didn't say it yet, but it's still weird. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the reaction, and I will see you all next time.